On December 16th, 1944, as dawn broke over the Ardennes forest, 20-year-old Lieutenant Lyle Bouck and his 18-man Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon of the 394th Infantry Regiment faced an overwhelming threat. For weeks, they had intercepted German communications, uncovering Hitler's plans to amass veteran soldiers along the Belgium-Germany border. Now, Bouck's platoon faced the German Sixth Panzer Army near the Belgian town of Lanzerath. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Over the radio, they received chilling news. There would be no anti-tank weapons, artillery support, or any other help coming their way. Despite this, the men prepared to defend a crucial road. At 5:30 a.m., the Germans unleashed a devastating 90-minute artillery barrage. For the next 20 hours, 18 men and their 20-year-old leader would be all that stood between 700 German paratroopers and a German victory at the Battle of The Bulge. At a mere 20 years old, Lyle Bouck had been leading the Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon of the 394th Infantry, 99th Infantry Division for about 6 months by December 1944. His youth made him one of the youngest officers in the American Army. The platoon consisted of Bouck and his 17 men, all highly skilled marksmen trained for specialized commando operations. Despite not being trained for direct combat, this elite unit undertook several perilous missions deep behind enemy lines. On their day-to-day operations, they infiltrated German bases up to 2 miles beyond the front, capturing unsuspecting Wehrmacht soldiers and extracting valuable information from them, sometimes through unconventional means, all while evading detection. The group was also among the first to be awarded the Combat Infantryman Badge, a testament to their exceptional performance on the battlefield during World War II. Arriving at Le Havre alongside the 99th Infantry Division in early November 1944, they were deployed to the Ardennes region by the end of the month, taking over from the 60th Regiment, 9th Infantry Division. By this time, despite the slow advance in the dense Hurtgen forest and the rugged Vosges Mountains, a string of victories bred a growing sense of confidence among Allied leaders, with some even making the bold speculation that the war might conclude before Christmas. But not within this platoon. As mid-December 1944 approached, the 99th Infantry Division's Reconnaissance and Intelligence Platoon, positioned close to the front lines, sensed an impending storm brewing in the Ardennes forest. Under the leadership of Bouck, this elite platoon had spent the preceding weeks establishing communication listening posts along the German-controlled Siegfried Line, diligently gathering intelligence. What they uncovered was deeply troubling. Hitler was amassing his most battle-hardened veteran soldiers along the Belgium-Germany border, preparing for a massive offensive that no one believed possible at this late stage of the war. If successful, this maneuver would drive a wedge between the British forces in the north and the American forces in the south, allowing the Germans to methodically crush the Western armies and put the Reich on top of the world again. Bouck was ready to do everything in his power not to let that happen. Not long after their alarming discovery, Allied command ordered Bouck and his men to take up defensive positions on a ridge overlooking a crucial road near the Belgian town of Lanzerath. This time, instead of their usual intelligence-gathering missions, Bouck's platoon was tasked with digging into their position and preparing to hold their ground at all costs against the advancing German Sixth Panzer Army. The days of slipping behind enemy lines unnoticed were over. Now, the platoon was about to face a full-on German assault. With no time to waste, especially as Commander Bouck understood the strategic importance of defending this Allied position on the road to Losheim Gap, he ordered his men to begin fortifying their bunkers immediately. The 20-year-old organized his men into 2 9-man squads, supported by 4 forward artillery observers, typically responsible for ranging in howitzer fire, not engaging in direct combat. The men of the 394th found themselves in a precarious position, lacking armor and anti-tank capability, after the assigned tank destroyer company had departed without notice. There was also no air support, backup, or reinforcements. To make matters worse, Bouck was informed via his only radio that the artillery had, quote, higher priority targets, leaving him unable to rely on calling in a barrage. Nonetheless, this tenacious platoon and their fearless leader stood ready to face the impending storm and overwhelming odds head-on. On December 15, 1944, Bouck ordered his men to dig trenches overlooking the road to Lanzerath, fortify them with pine logs, and set up pillboxes with interlocking fields of fire. With a forest at his back, an open field with a barbed wire fence separated Bouck's position from the town. For his own protection, the leader strategically placed his .30 caliber machine gun and 2 Browning automatic rifles, then traded one of the supply guys for the .50 caliber machine gun in his jeep. As the night wore on, the distant clanking of armor and the rumble of vehicles filled the air. Bouck instructed his men to remain vigilant, their eyes straining against the darkness. Despite their readiness, well-organized defense, and anticipation of a large-scale attack, the sheer force of the German onslaught was staggering when, at 5:30 a.m., the Nazis unleashed a powerful barrage of artillery. The German plan was simple: to secure the road to Lanzerath, allowing the 1st and 12th SS Panzer Divisions to pass through. After the blistering 90-minute bombardment that shredded the trees above Bouck's head, Wehrmacht infantry launched a full-scale assault to breach American lines across the Ardennes front, with the SS Panzers poised to exploit the gap and make a dash for Antwerp. The task of securing Lanzerath Pass fell to the 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division, a unit of elite paratroopers that remained in high morale despite being decimated back in Normandy. Now bolstered by young boys and older men previously deemed unfit for service, the division was still confident in its ability to overcome the Americans. Back atop Lanzerath Ridge, Lyle Bouck and his men gripped their rifles tightly as a battalion of over 700 German paratroopers marched down the road towards the town, their boots pounding against the frozen December earth. Bouck's voice was clear on his instructions: to wait for the lead elements to pass. Then, only when the enemy was in range, the Americans unleashed a hail of precise gunfire, leaving the Germans scrambling for cover in the nearby ditches as the machine guns chewed up the ground around them. Completely unaware of the opposition's numbers, the paratroopers dispatched a company of over 150 men to storm the woods and eliminate the American threat. As the Germans surged up the hill, their fully automatic MP-40 and MP-44 submachine guns chattering, the small group of Americans remained steadfast, cutting down the advancing enemy, using fire from their M1 carbines and their heavy machine guns. During the first attack, despite their undeniable equipment and force superiority, not a single German made it past the barbed wire fence. Not on First Lieutenant Bouck's watch. After a brief truce to allow German medics to retrieve their wounded, the paratroopers launched a second assault, charging through knee-deep snow under the cover of heavy mortar and machine gun fire. The bitter cold bit at their skin, but the adrenaline of battle and the hope to win the war kept them pressing forward. Meanwhile, each of the 18 men of the INR platoon fought with unwavering determination. Private First Class Risto Milo Milosevic, his feet bare and numb from the cold, manned the .30 caliber machine gun alone, as his socks were drying nearby when the Germans arrived. Not far from him, his foxhole mate, in a trance-like state, seamlessly switched between his M1 rifle, a grease gun, and a Colt 45 pistol, engaging the enemy with a fierce intensity. Behind the 700 paratroopers, the men of the 1st SS Panzer Corps found themselves mired in a traffic jam, their timetable thrown into disarray by the unexpected American resistance. The success of the entire operation hinged on precise timing, and they were already 5 hours behind schedule. Still determined to break through, the 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division launched another full-scale attack, bolstered by the thundering support of 81mm mortars and heavy artillery, causing the ground to shake violently as massive craters formed around the American foxholes. Despite the pressure from their much larger enemy, Commander Bouck and his men continued to fight, even as the paratroopers drew close enough for the Americans to see the whites of their eyes as they engaged in hand-to-hand combat. By then, the battle at Lanzerath Ridge, which had begun at 6 a.m., now stretched into its 10th hour. The Americans, with their ammunition nearly spent and several men nursing wounds, clung to the hope of holding out just one more hour to withdraw under the cover of darkness. But they had already achieved the unthinkable. For almost a full day, 18 American recon and intelligence troops had single-handedly delayed an entire German Panzer Army. As dusk settled over the battlefield, the paratroopers launched their final, desperate attack, flanked through the forest, triggering a series of tripwires attached to grenades, instead of attacking head-on, the resulting explosions echoing through the trees. This time, while the Americans attempted to adjust their positions, with their ammunition exhausted and their defenses breached, realizing the fight was over, they surrendered and were quickly taken prisoner. Against all odds, and despite 3 large attacks, not a single American life was lost in the epic stand at Lanzerath Ridge. In contrast, the commando force had wounded or taken the lives of 92 enemies. That day, the Americans had fought with such tenacity and skill that the Germans couldn't believe a mere 18 men had defended the woods. Despite the forest being clear following the surrender, the advancing division hesitated to advance until the commanding officer of the 1st SS Panzer Division, Joachim Peiper, arrived at 1 a.m. Peiper then personally led a battalion of paratroopers into the forest to verify it was empty. The delay, caused by heavy traffic, destroyed bridges, and the determined defense by Bouck's platoon, had far-reaching consequences. Instead of reaching the Meuse River on the first day, as planned, the Germans made little progress. The entire northern wing of the attack, a crucial part of Hitler's surprise offensives through the Ardennes, fell hopelessly behind schedule and never recovered. Following his capture, Bouck, who was still unaware of the impact his platoon had on the entire battle, was consumed by a sense of failure, the weight of the battle bearing down on his young shoulders. As the clock struck midnight on December 17th, Lieutenant Lyle Bouck turned 21 years old. The Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon was then sent on a grueling 11-day train ride to a prison camp in Germany, where they endured 4 months in a freezing outdoor camp during the harsh German winter. Bouck was about to succumb to hypothermia, starvation, and dehydration when his old unit, the 99th Division, finally marched in and rescued him. The heroic actions of this platoon went largely unnoticed until 1965, when an Army publication regarding the Battle of the Bulge briefly mentioned them. This spurred one of Bouck's men to reach out and encourage him to seek recognition for their efforts. Bouck contacted his former division commander, Major General Walter E. Lauer, who nominated him for the Silver Star. However, the rest of the platoon was still not recognized. Driven by a desire to honor his men, Bouck tirelessly lobbied the government, until on October 25, 1981, at a World War II Valor Award ceremony, the Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon of the 394th Regiment, 99th Infantry Division, received the Presidential Unit Citation, a long overdue recognition. Additionally, 5 members were awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, 4 received Silver Stars, and 10 Bronze Stars with Valor were bestowed, cementing the platoon's status as one of the most decorated in World War II. The fierce resistance of Bouck's platoon played a pivotal role in stalling the German advance, forever altering the course of the Battle of the Bulge. As author Alex Kershaw stated, quote, "Had they not stood and held the Germans and halted their attack, or rather postponed it for a crucial 24 hours, the Battle of the Bulge would have been a great German victory."